Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You are listening to the Campus Connection by Doc Owen Show. That's Campus Connection with a K in both instances, and it's being put on by Doc Owen Show. This is Richard Owen, and I'm joined in the studio by...
I'm a surefire.
We hope you enjoy what we have to say this evening. We are all over the social media as Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW, and you can find specific instances of articles and events and things that are pertinent to the campuses around the country, high school, college, below and above, grad school, yada yada, on Campus Connection on Facebook. That's with a K, K-A-M-P-U-S, and then Connection with a K. Those are both on, that's on Facebook. So that's really the best place to communicate with us. If you have something to say, something to object to, or something you think we ought to focus on, we would love to hear from you and correspond with you. This is our weekly show, middle of the week, that we focus on young people. You know, obviously things that are of concern or enjoyment or whatever to the young folks, and it's a little bit different from our other shows. We have a Monday show that is about sanctuary cities. It's called Saint Cities by Doc Owen Show, and it is totally focused on sanctuary cities. And it's Kissing Cousin Immigration. And then our usual end of the week show is broadcast live on Thursday nights and all over the channels over the weekend, starting on Friday and run Saturday and Sunday. And it is just the plain Doc Owen Show. So, you know, we'll hopefully our concentration will pay dividends and you will appreciate it. The best way to find us and to follow us and to listen to not only the current show, as it is broadcast live on Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday night, is through our app, where we have stored all of our versions or all of our episodes as podcasts. And we have an app called the Doc Owen Show, for both Apple and Android devices. So really, that's the best way to do it, and then you'll get an instant notice. Each one of our shows begins in a specific tradition. And the tradition for the Campus Connection is to listen to an early version, but rather poignant rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So we will, for the next few minutes, turn the show over to Mr. Red Skelton.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. And I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher. Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell. He says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester. And it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity, allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, O glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States. Individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
Howdy, folks. You're listening to the Campus Konnection by Doc Owen Show. That was the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Red Skelton, and I believe, if memory serves, it was circa 1974 when he first did that on stage. I could be wrong, but we'll have to fact check it as there seems to be a lot of that going around. I want to talk just a little bit about something that came up last night when watching the presidential debate.
Oh, yeah.
We were invited, kind of have a standing invitation, to join a debate watch party for feedback and, observations, etc., at the local ABC television affiliate, KSAT 12 in San Antonio. And last night's group was a little smaller, actually, than what gathered for the primaries. Quite a bit smaller,
like a third, probably.
Yeah. I don't know exactly why, but anyway, it's a representation of Democrats, Republicans, and we'll call them, party-affiliated Republicans, as well as the conservative arm, the Tea Party affiliates, and some independents, into which Ms. Surefire and I consider ourselves to be part of the independents, because we really try, as the work we do on the radio and podcasting, to be somewhat independent and try to get at least listen to the other side and, find out some ideas from both sides and weave it all together and then make a well-informed decision. But the reason I bring it up is one of the things that came up after the debate as a disappointment that it was not included in the debate was the topic of education.
That's right.
Specifically, among a number of things, but specifically college tuition and the debt that is out there, the extreme amount of college debt that these students are walking around with, et cetera, et cetera. So I did give it, I had an opinion on it at the very time, and it is extremely conservative. I got out of undergraduate school without any debt. I got a scholarship for a portion of it, and I finished it up by taking things like 18 hours my final semester and working 3 jobs. I just said, when I was, by the way, 32 years old. I had gone back to finish and get my degree after I'd been in business and worked my way for 10 years. I decided I wanted to do something else, and the best place to start over and to do that is by getting a college degree. So there's a lot of things that are assumed when you go to college, and the concern last night on one side of the fence was that everybody knows, quote unquote, that you have to have a college degree in order to advance beyond a minimum wage job. And so that requires that you go into debt. On the face, those sound like, yeah, that's right. Think about that. Neither one of those is true. There are an awful lot of people without college degrees who are extremely successful. Mm-hmm. Not to mention, one of the most obvious is a fellow by the name of Bill Gates. Another one that might be not quite so obvious was a guy that had started Apple. Mm-hmm. I mean, college degrees are absolutely not required for everybody. Those two gentlemen are the exception for sure. But there's an awful lot of people who do quite well. And you can get certifications no matter what field of interest you have. There are certifications out there that you can get that will help you advance your degree in that area. And you can do that for a while, save some money, and go to school, and there's no law that says you have to graduate from undergraduate in 4 years. You can take subjects online. You can do combinations of things. You can do community college for the first couple of years. That saves some money. You can do online courses. That has a tendency to save some money. Not a lot, I don't think, but some. But the main thing is it allows you to be free to work. If you have to work your way through school, you can work a 40-hour-a-week job and go to what used to be called night school, Alma.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of flexibility, and you can manage, because a lot of professors tell you what to do, a little bit ahead of time.
And it used to be that those types of educations, those alternate educations, were really looked down upon by, they're still looked down upon by the big schools, much less so than they used to be, because most big schools offer online education. Mm-hmm. And they used to be, it was looked down upon by industry or by business in hiring practices, and that is absolutely not the case. So, very little of that argument, other than the fact that you really need a degree to advance, holds water with me. And think about this. If you have a job, or if you have something and you need transportation to get to and from work, and the bus won't do it, but you can only afford so much money a month for your wheels, then you get what you can afford, and you make it last. The same thing is true with a college degree. And these cries for the federal government to step in and subsidize, or for state government to step in and subsidize, are really, really a bad idea. What makes you think if the federal government starts to pay for your tuition and your college education, what makes you think they're going to let you go where you want to go? What makes you think they're going to let you take what you want to take? It's a very slippery slope. They will tell you based on some aptitude tests that you will take in high school where you can go to school and what you can take when you get there. And it may or may not be what makes you happy or what makes you gives you the ability to contribute the most to society. So, but that gives you Doc Owen's view of it, and the others, and it also gives you what was being said among the young people. But there were millennials there. That's who started the conversation.
That's true.
There were some on the side of subsidized college and relief from their debt and yada yada, which I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for that. You signed You signed the deal. You got your education. And if you've not propelled your career far enough, high enough, or fast enough to suit you to pay off the debt and have other things in your life, well, better get in gear because it's only up to you. You signed the deal, said I'll pay for it. And nowadays, thanks to the Obama administration, there's a lot of things you can do that they'll forgive the debt after 10 years worth of payments and greatly reduce the monthly payment if you work in a not-for-profit industry or if you work in education, if you give back in the form of teaching high school or teaching in public schools. I mean, there's just too many ways to do the right thing without getting completely a free ride. And that's what it sounds like a lot of folks are talking about. On the other side of the table from those people were some other young people, one young lady in particular that didn't agree with what they said, and she pointed out that she had gotten her undergrad degree, some with scholarships, some with grants, and the balance she made up by working for $9 an hour. And that's very recent. She was quite young. So I know it's a sticky wicket, but the other side of it is when the government subsidizes the money and it's not real money to the student, then the college can get away with gouging the system. And a lot of them do. A lot of them charge more than they really need to. Or they, let's put it this way. They could provide the same level of service with far fewer brand new buildings and far fewer hip slap lab stuff, you know, and still give you a very good education for less money. If the capitalist system were working in free form like it's supposed to, and the student were paying for it out of their pocket, then they'd have to do something if they wanted to compete.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Anyway, having given it some thought, I wasn't nearly that eloquent nor verbose last night. I was kind of in Trump mode and tweeting back at 140 characters at a time. But I thought you might want to know that. I got a few articles. We've got a very interesting interview that we conducted lately, and it is very pertinent to the election. There's a new movie out called Hillary's America, and I highly, highly, highly advise you to find a theater where you can see it. There's one on the internet that you can watch for free called Clinton Cash, and both of those things need to be part of your decision-making process. But the producer, the author, the fellow behind Hillary's America that's in the theaters is a gentleman by the name of Dinesh D'Souza. This is his third documentary having to do with the politics in the United States on the presidential level. And it's really a good movie. But we had a conversation with Dinesh, and we're going to replay it for you tonight. So that's coming up. There was a conference held recently in Texas where the conversations were about diversity. Tuition costs on college campuses were addressed at what was called the Texas Tribune Festival. And Texas Tribune is a blog that goes out. The slow growth of racial diversity and high tuition costs at Texas colleges were issues panelists wanted to see addressed when the 85th legislature begins in the upcoming months. This is in Texas. So one of the panels was called Paying for Higher Ed, and if you'll note, the university representatives, the University of Texas president was there, and a couple of other universities were represented, all of whom felt like that the government should do more to subsidize their university. But University of Texas, Texas A&M, public universities, not private. So they are and always have been subsidized, which keeps the, what's it called that you pay? You don't pay it per hour, per class hour that you take. Tuition.
The fees?
The per hour. It's measured per hour, I think.
Semester hours?
Yeah, there you go. Semester hour. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
I was involved. She just graduated, so it's fresh on her mind. So.
I'm anxiously awaiting my acceptance letter for PhD program. Mm-hmm.
Yep. On the other hand, you might remember not too long ago we talked about the collapse of ITT Technology, which is a for-profit college or a for-profit education provider. They are gone after they, finally got put under or helped go under by the Department of Education. So now all of the for-profit colleges are scrambling so they don't get on the wrong side of these guys. Another very large one is called DeVry University. They announced that they plan to cut their revenue from federal student financial aid to 85% of their income, saying that it wants to be an active partner in helping to reform the for-profit education. You might also note that DeVry is under investigation by the Federal Trade Commission for alleged false advertising in television spots touting the job placement and graduate earnings statistics. Mm-hmm. So we'll just have to wait to see what happens with DeVry, but it may be too little too late that they've, scrambled to that decision after ITT went out for some of the same practices.
I'm sure.
Right. The presidential debate even drew interest on high school campuses. It's drawing interest. And this is about Madison, Alabama. It's the first time that we've ever voted in a presidential election, and a group of Madison high school students are all in on Monday night's debate between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Shockingly, one of the school's teachers said, shockingly, a lot of students are talking about it, seeing who is going to be watching it, where they're going to watch the party, et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot of that is due to Donald Trump because it is not politics as usual. That's why the interest is so high, is that it is absolute. Say what you will about him. He is a larger-than-life personality, and it is so over the top for what we're used to from our political candidates, much less what we're used to from a candidate for President of the United States, that it's attracting a lot of attention. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I'm not saying his policies are a good thing. I'm saying the attention that it's attracting is a lot of good thing.
People are paying attention more.
Right.
Yeah.
Besides that, with the age of social media, you see all of these videos of the craziness. It gets you involved and it gets you interested, one of the club members said at this particular high school. And that's very true. And that's something that has been a stalwart, a basic of the Trump campaign is social media. He has spent a minuscule amount of money compared to the Democrats on his campaign for regular mainstream TV advertising. He's doing all of his stuff by being a reality TV nutcase by a lot of standards. Excuse me. Anyway, this one student said, it really is reality TV. It's ridiculous for a political cycle. But they love it. They watch it. They tune into it to see what's going to happen next. A St. Joseph's, and I think this is a college, says, I don't think I know enough to form an educated opinion, a 19-year-old sophomore said, of who she planned to vote for in the presidential race. So, but undecided voters in swing states, like college students, the youth, undecided voters in swing states like Ohio, Florida, and Pennsylvania can definitely make a difference in who wins the presidential race. So, undecided voters are generally, listen to this, the least informed and least educated. Said Ken Long, a professor of history and political science at the university. That can play to a candidate's debate strategy. Okay? It is an undecided first-time voter that doesn't feel either candidate represents the type of president that she can support, said one of the students. So Trump their review of the debate last night, Trump drew the biggest reaction of the night when he said he had a better temperament than Clinton. I'd have to agree with that, at least on the surface. I won't go there. I think the Donald Trump that you see on stage is the same Donald Trump all the time.
That's true.
I don't think that's necessarily the case of Ms. Clinton.
Oh, no.
And he said, I have a very good temperament, he said, to laughter from the crowd watching the debate in West Hartford. So I'd have to agree with that. We kind of chuckled at the same thing in our room. Here's one that in the Tennessean, and it's from University of Tennessee mostly, about Trump being an awkward choice for some college Republicans. Last week we talked about the fact that the college Republican organizations, the student organization Republicans, are not slam dunk supporting Donald Trump. Because they've been trained and stilted in standardized Republican demeanor. Think Mitt Romney, think John McCain, think, a litany of candidates that have gone up in the past that are substantially more like Hillary Clinton. They're politicians. And Trump is just, they can't handle it. They just can't believe that this guy is going to represent them. He's the ugly duckling. But he vanquished how many? 14 competitors?
That's right.
All of whom were standard Republican.
Politicians.
The only one that held in there with him is another brash, outspoken, tough competitor, Ted Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a new world, folks. Like it or not, it's a new world. And it talks about the debate fact checks that are going on and continue to go on. And I'll look forward to seeing what they are during the final analysis. I couldn't get a grip of it from looking at Twitter today. There was just too much going on, up one side and down the other. I got one more for you, and then we're going to take a slight break, and then we'll listen to a little bit of Dinesh D'Souza. This one talks about a massive, that's all caps, could you hear it in my voice? Massive victory against a principal who banned the American flag. And it comes out of Principal Lou Lavalley of Travelers Rest High School. I have no idea where Travelers Rest is. Oh, well. And his counterpart, Mike Noel, at rival Berea, B-E-R-E-A. If somebody out there listening knows where these towns are, I'd love to know about it. They agreed to the ban of the American flag, ostensibly to protect the flag from unsportsmanlike use by irresponsible spectators. Earlier games had led to reports of students chanting, "Go home," at the opposition. So they banned, but then they got sued by some of the parents and students and had to go back to putting the American flag up. So that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. Coming up on our half-hour, midway break, I'm going to take this chance to get a sip of water, and I'll give you a little introduction to Dinesh D'Souza when we will be right back.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Paraswabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is John Greenhut, the CEO of Paraswabs. And if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Paraswabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Paraswabs risk-free, call 1-800-975-4583. That's 1-800-975-4583. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-975-4583. That's 1-800-975-4583.
Oh, okay. There we go. Now we are live. May I call you Dinesh?
Sure.
Okay, great. I gotta tell you, you look like you are having an awful lot of fun every time I see you on television or the internet or any type of media. You got a grin like a young boy that's just walked into a candy store. So I totally really appreciate the way you attack life. Is sort of the way. Correct me.
Well,
if I'm wrong.
I got to tell you a funny anecdote before we start. Someone was saying on one of these shows I was on, he was saying, Dinesh, did you engineer your own federal prosecution for your own career benefit? I was like, that's the Dinesh's evil genius theory that you're perpetrating. Anyway, well, we can get started when you're ready.
Yeah, we are started.
Okay.
And I noticed in your in some of the back, one of the quotes that I read about out of the Young Conservative book, that you were talking about the death penalty, and you made the statement that although your personal observation is that none of the criminals who have been executed over the years have ever killed again. So
deterrence does work.
Yes, sir. It does have a tendency to work. Let's talk about, I've seen the movie, saw it when it very first came out, and was kind of did a fist pump for you. I think you did a fabulous job. And I tell our audience, who are we after? I mean, this one doesn't appear to be preaching to the choir like the previous two did. It's a bit more of an education.
This was my third film. The first one, Obama, was just looking at the secret history of one man, Obama.
Yes, sir.
And then my America film was a defense of rational patriotism. In this movie, I tried to lift the curtain on the Democratic Party, not just on Hillary, but also on the whole sordid history of the Democrats. And this is a party that has done a beautiful job of covering up its tracks. It's been implicated in the worst deeds of American history, and yet it's done an excellent job in blaming its actions on the South or on America or on the Republicans. So my movie and an accompanying book, Hillary's America, the same title, is intended to blow the whistle on this.
And it does an excellent job. It doesn't prevent them, but it certainly tends to short-circuit their desire to reconstruct history in their own best interest, which I think is probably part of the intent.
The progressives are very clever. They dominate academia, they dominate Hollywood and the media, and so they know they can put out a lot of propaganda without anyone having a big enough megaphone to contradict them. They've also come up with all kinds of fallback arguments so that they don't like to bring up their role in slavery or segregation or the Ku Klux Klan or lynching. But when you bring it up and you force them to answer, they go, well, yeah, but at the last minute the two parties switched sides. We Democrats became the good guys,
right,
and Republicans became the bad guys. Now, this is all nonsense. I mean, on the face of it, the whole idea that two parties would switch places is preposterous, but it never happened.
Oh, I know that, but they unfortunately, there are way too many young people who accept that version. I won't say buy into the argument, but they just accept the version. They don't have the logical thinking skills that they should have to drive through it.
Well, it isn't just that. I mean, even Republicans sometimes buy into it. I remember going back to the 1980s, even Reagan used to say, I didn't leave the Democratic Party, it left me. And so Reagan was kind of implying the Democrats were okay guys, but then they maybe just went off track sometime toward the very end or quite recently. I think when you look at the history of this party, you see that they've been doing bad stuff since the 1820s, which is the days of Andrew Jackson.
So you're saying the notion of which I I am one that exists that has the notion that back in the 40s and the 50s, when I was a young man, and starting to pay attention to politics when I was about 10 or 12 years old, we had what we thought were conservative Democrats. And you're saying that those were we may have had some in Texas, but they were very rare, is what you're telling us.
Well, I'm saying that there are good people in the Democratic Party, but I'm saying that the Democratic leadership, you go back to Andrew Jackson, and you continue all the way, Woodrow Wilson.
Yes, sir.
FDR has the reputation of being a saint, but when you actually look at the way that he dealt with the racists in his own party, cutting deals to block anti-lynching legislation, his sympathy for Mussolini and Italian fascism, all this stuff has been swept under the rug.
I understand. And all of that is pointed out and documented in Hillary's America. So I got it. And I don't remember it as well as you do. But there's an awful lot of content in there that, I'd like for the audience to understand that this guy, he's not just a filmmaker, he's a researcher. I mean, I guarantee you on his epitaph it will go down that he's a prolific writer. I lost count of the books, Dinesh. I had no idea. I mean, you put out something every couple of years at a minimum.
Well, I've done 15 books, and most of my career, I was a writer and speaker and not a filmmaker. I just got into the movies 4 years ago to reach a wider audience.
Yes, sir.
And so part of what I'm doing in this book is showing, and the movie is showing that Hillary, with all her shenanigans, with all the Bonnie and Clyde operations that she and Bill have been running, they are simply the latest incarnation. They're simply the latest edition of a Democratic Party sort of subjugation and rip-off scheme that's been going on now for many, many decades.
So put on your forecasting hat, which you're pretty good at doing, and extend this out for us. When do you see it? My constant question is, when is America going to get enough? I
think Americans have already had enough.
All right.
But I think they're also fearful about where to go from here. Now, Hillary is a little bit of a different character than Obama. Some people think that Hillary is going to be just essentially a 12-year term for Obama. But no, I think at the end of the day, Obama is an ideologue. Now, to my way of thinking, his ideology is pathetic, it's destructive, but poor man, he believes it. He thinks he's doing good for America and for the world.
He's totally
With Hillary and Bill, these are basically two gangsters. I mean, they're two rip-off artists. They've been running scams since the Arkansas days, and they are on the make and on the take. And so I would expect a Hillary's America to be more third worldish, more gangsterized than an Obama's America.
Yes, sir. I would expect it to be, as you point out, far more blatant. It's already become that in her quest to run for office. It's already become that.
It's kind of like if you have a meeting with the Clintons, make sure you bring a suitcase of cash.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to go there, but if anybody in the audience happens to have an ex-wife or that they think needs some direction, they should introduce them to the Clintons.
Boy, what a duo this is. And I think Bill was bad enough because Bill is unscrupulous. He's a pathological liar, the same as Hillary. But I think Hillary has a tyrannical streak that we didn't see in Bill.
No, I completely agree. Bill would back off and put on the country boy act, and Hillary makes no bones about it whatsoever. She doesn't even try. To me, she doesn't. If she tries to hide it, she's not very good at it. Let's put it, not nearly as good as he was.
I think that's right.
Yeah. So, what can we do? What should we tell our young folks about? I mean, other than go see the movie and pay attention and read your books or listen to some podcasts or go out to DineshD'Souza.com and take advantage of some of that stuff. How else can we get them? What would you say about the movie that would attract them to go see it rather than the older crowd? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Well, the movie is very. It's both entertaining and it's not only intellectually stimulating, but it's emotionally powerful. I hope you'll agree, as someone who saw that movie, that it has those qualities. I think with young people, the challenge for them is that we've seen in America, and this is across the board, a kind of lowering of the sights. And by that I mean, when I was 19 or 20 years old, I looked up to people like Bill Buckley, Irving Kristol, Solzhenitsyn, Friedrich Hayek, Milton Friedman. And today, you can't find people of that caliber on the scene. Even the kind of statesmen that we saw commonly in both parties in American politics, Howard Baker, George Shultz, who was Secretary of State under Reagan.
Yes, sir.
You don't have people of that stature, again, very easily found today. So we need a kind of restoration of American politics and of American intellectual life.
Oh, and by the way, to back all the way up to the beginning of your statement, it was very entertaining. Yeah. You spent your time in the clink very well.
No.
you obviously observed and noted in order to endure. And I could see, I felt like, gee, this probably really happened to him. So
you know what? It was actually exactly the way it was. There's an article out in Esquire today where they go, this guy was so over the top in his recreations. No, the judge actually prohibited me from filming the confinement center, so I had to create a movie set that looked exactly like it.
Yeah, but I still got. I'm sure that was true. I felt that was true. But I also felt like the characters and the information and what you observed while you were there was very real. I just, that, I don't know, if that was the intent, you portrayed it, you did a great job.
Well, one thing I love about this film is at the end of the film, and this is true across the country, it doesn't matter if it's Red America or Blue America, audiences that see this movie will stand up and thunderously clap at the end, and how often do you see that in a movie theater?
Not very often. Not very often at all. Even if it's a target audience and the audience is 100%. No, I agree with you. The response that it received in the first time we saw it was excellent. Mm-hmm. And I didn't poll the house to figure out who was on what side. But it was very well done. There was one other thing that I wanted to add. You used a term, I did some reading on Wikipedia to get some more information than I was able to glean elsewhere. There's a term used, what is it, a polemical film? How do you pronounce it? Where it's an opinion type film. Are you familiar with it?
Sure. The word is polemical. And polemical means a film that is sort of with a point of view. Now,
yes.
Sometimes when the left uses that term, they're acting as though conservative films are polemical or argumentative, but let's say Michael Moore's films or Oliver Stone's films are not.
Oh, correct.
In my opinion, all political films are polemical. They always have a point of view. And the real question is, do you argue for your point of view fairly and intelligently, nice, or do you argue for your point of view like a dummy? And I think one important difference between Michael Moore's films and mine can be described in the level of intellectual content in those films.
I've not seen a Michael Moore film, just based on principle. But I have seen yours, and I would agree. It's just that was what we in Texas call a $1 word. And I'd not ever seen it before, so I had to make sure I was pronouncing it correctly.
No problem.
I'm not often at a loss of words, but for some reason I am with you. What else do we need the audience to know about this film that, without giving away any secrets? I mean, you're a guy, Dinesh, that obviously does your homework. You either, I get the feeling that you personally do an awful lot of your own research, that you like to know for sure the facts and present them in a very, entertaining manner, as is befitting of your personality. Is that a true statement? Do you have a crew that helped you out?
Well, we have a small film team of about 10 of us that make these movies. I write the books on my own, typically with the help of a research assistant. And, yes, I am careful about the facts, and I'm careful to know what I'm talking about. But I think also equally important, I'm an immigrant to this country. I was born in Bombay, India. I came to the United States with $500 in my pocket. And so I've seen the American dream, these ladders of opportunity that this country makes available to people at the bottom. And that's really what my politics is based on. Yep. So at the end of the day, what scares me about Obama and Hillary is they're knocking down these ladders of opportunity and replacing them with dependency. And so the Democratic model is not one of people climbing up the ladder. It's essentially the Democrats on top of a roof, and they're letting down a rope, and they ask you to hang on to the rope, and they will pull you up. But this keeps you permanently beholden to them, and they never pull you all the way up.
Right.
And so we have whole communities in this country that have become dependent on these Democrats, and they can never get out of poverty.
Why is it that so often, at least to me, it seems so often that foreigners, folks that did not grow up in this country, have a far better view, understanding, and even too often appreciation for what we have here. That's always kind of befuddled me.
Well, I think the reason for that is that when you live in this country, you take for granted the good things that it has, yep. And you tend to compare it to perfection. I call it the utopian or Garden of Eden standard. Whereas if you're an immigrant, you come from another country and you have some actual basis of comparison. You're saying, okay, well, there's prejudice in America, but is India free of prejudice? Is Venezuela free of prejudice? Do the Russians not have any prejudice? So you're actually comparing America to other countries in the world, and by this actual historical standard, yeah. America comes off looking really good.
Yeah, and we can go visit places, but still not get the true essence of what you're saying until you live there for a while, and really get a feel for it, particularly having grown up in it. And by the way, you became an American citizen in 1991?
Yes, I did. So I've actually lived most of my adult life here, although the first 17 years of my life in India.
Which is tough. You have to be India, from the folks that I know from there, an awful lot out of the IT business, the academic competition is very, very stiff. So it speaks volumes for you to have come over here as an exchange student and graduated from Dartmouth and been the editor of the school magazine, et cetera. I don't think people understand how much that says.
Well, I think it's also that those countries are defined by a lot of gangsterism and a lot of corruption. You saw it if you watched the movie Slumdog Millionaire, how the country is run by gangs. My wife is from Venezuela. It's the same thing over there. So we come to America and we want to live in a country where you're uncontaminated by corruption, at least not corruption in the same blatant way. Right. And that's really what the Clintons represent. They represent the increasing third worldization and gangsterization of America.
I completely agree with you. And I thoroughly appreciate your voice in pointing that out. And we will do all that we can as well. What else would you like to leave with our audience? We're coming up on about 20 minutes, and I'm very respectful of your time. So,
well, I'd just like to say that for most of my career, I was a writer and speaker, and the reason I've got to making movies is that movies are a way to reach people that you wouldn't reach in Barnes and Noble or wouldn't buy a hardcover book. I would urge people to go see this movie. We're going to re-release into a bunch of theaters in September, and if you go to Hillary'sAmericaTheMovie.com, that's the website, you can watch a trailer, plug in your zip code, it'll tell you where the movie is playing near you, and my book of the same title is available everywhere.
Absolutely fabulous. And he will be here, well, this will air live on a Thursday night, so he will have been here the night before, but the movie will still be in the theater. So here in San Antonio. So we'll definitely promote it all that we can. Dinesh, thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Hey, thanks so much. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 877-212-5898. Again, 877-212-5898. That's 877-212-5898. 877-212-5898.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Dinesh D'Souza. Please go see his documentary. The title is Hillary's America, A History of the Democrat Party. I think you will thoroughly enjoy it. I've got one final article. And by the way, we began the show with 15 or 20 minute conversation or diatribe, if you will, some background, etc., on college tuition and the expense of college loans and what a burden it is, et cetera, et cetera. And I understand that. I expressed the opinion that it doesn't have to be. That's not the last time we will talk about that subject. We're not going to talk about it every week, but we will visit it every once in a while because it's a major concern to our young folk nowadays. As a result of that, colleges have turned to coloring books to de-stress students. Colleges nowadays are predominantly populated by students that grew up in the everybody gets a ribbon generation. They are not competitive by nature. If they just enter, they get a prize. And that's really not very real life-like. In the age of safe spaces and trigger warnings, both of which we've talked about on Campus Konnection, comes another new trend to the college repertoire, coloring books. This fall, campuses nationwide are offering coloring books to students to help them de-stress. American University on Monday announced that its counseling center provided coloring sheets in honor of Healthy Campus Week, noting on its Facebook page that adult coloring books can help with a number of emotional and mental health issues. The time and focus that adult coloring takes helps the individual remove the focus from the negative issues and habits and focus them in a safe and productive way. That comes from American University, University of Wyoming has what it calls the Artwell program, where you color your stress away. The University of Massachusetts at Dartmouth has it is Stressless Days, held monthly on Wednesdays. The university provides coloring in addition to other crafts and games to help students unwind. North Central University professor Mary Jill Blackwood said coloring is like meditation because it encourages engagement with the present moment. Now, several universities, which they've had napping rooms, which, by the way, I completely agree with, opportunities to frolic with puppies. I like that one, too.
That's kind of sugary.
Yoga, chair massages, and other de-stressors, they have now added coloring books. Hi. University of San Diego has a de-stress coloring night where all the materials are provided to students who sought a night full of relaxation and coloring. And Color Me Calm is an adult coloring at the University Library at the University of Nebraska. This is going on well over hundreds of campuses around the United States. I'm sorry if I get tickled at this, but you're talking to somebody who did their undergraduate work at the United States Naval Academy. We didn't
have no coloring book?
No, we didn't have any
How
coloring
about
book.
nap room?
I guess if we needed to de-stress, we'd just go out to the rifle range and start Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.